Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome, everybody, to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, along with G. Bush and Mikey McNuggets. I'm Adam the Bull. We've got Anthony, and we've got Steve behind the glass. I was going to say Earl, but he's not. Where is Earl? I never see Earl anymore.
Earl's off for the next 8 days.
Off?
He has a doctor's appointment today.
Yeah.
Then he has something tomorrow. Then his
all right.
vacation
I
starts
hope he's
Friday,
all right.
So,
There's
he's
always
good.
something going on. I'm always worried about him.
But you won't see Earl for
a while.
A week and change.
All right. Well, all the best to Earl, whatever he's up to over the next couple of weeks. We got a lot to get up to today. Matt Kaulig is going to join us later in the show. Bernie Kosar is going to join us later in the show. The Browns have cut down to their 53-man roster for now. Obviously, it's not going to stay where it is. And the Guardians are completely falling on their face. If the season ended today, they would not be the AL Central champs. That's all coming up. Guys, how are you? Gee, we haven't seen you in 2 days. What are you doing?
I was here on Monday.
He was here Monday.
I know, that was 2 days ago.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it was.
He took 1 day off.
Yeah, it was like, it's still normal schedule. So
Yeah, that's right.
We back in the mix. You know, I'm out here chilling, man. I was telling McNuggets, man, for all this coming. I'm really excited, man. I got my school layaway.
I thought of Game of Thrones. Winter is coming.
No.
Not yet.
Winter. I'm only going to say winter is coming when Deshaun Watson throws for 350. And then the winter is coming. You know, we'll get to that. But no,
Yeah.
Hey, listen, school is a staple. Fall is coming around. And when fall comes around, you got to have a layaway. You got to have some new gear. Don't be in here coming the first day of school.
Right.
With that old stuff on. That's not what we doing. So G. Bush has a plan.
Uh-oh.
You got to take Bull shopping for layaway then.
I forgot.
You know he doesn't have any new gear.
Listen,
you bought new clothes forever.
Are you coming with the spring 2024
That's actually not
look?
true. I've bought some shirts in the last month.
So you got some on top?
So you got something.
Yeah.
You got some? Okay, on top.
I got some new
like
shirts.
that. I like that.
I wore a new shirt yesterday.
Okay.
I had just gotten it, in the last month or two.
Okay, I like that on top, man. I told Tyvis, man, listen, I've been, and I'm just petty. Like, I've been internalizing all of these things, right? D'Anthony Bell was talking about my jeans. He won't do it no more.
Oh, he was making fun of your jeans?
He was. When he came on.
He got me. He said, I had
all-time moment.
It was one of the greatest funny moments of all time. Then it was funny. And then Earl and Tyvis was both laughing. And so I wrote their names down on the list of people to go after. And I didn't like the fact that they told me I couldn't get a specific pair of shoes because I got like big feet.
Yeah.
And that was a sore spot for me because this happened my whole life.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, so
you're going to get revenge on all of them.
Yeah, all pettiness. They're done.
Yeah.
They're done. Tyvis, you better
appreciate that.
Tyvis, you better get that stimulus package. Mikey McNuggets got the stimulus package. I immediately came in and see some icy whites. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
These are the on-sale. I had to buy some new basketball shoes. So this was while you're going through Nike.com looking for other stuff, they hit you with hey, this is on sale for 60%
Was it a 2-for-1 special or something?
No, they just were on sale. I needed some new just comfy shoes to chill in. And
so
they are very white. They won't be very white for very long. But for right now,
Hoopers
very
are
white.
funny. Hoopers are funny. Basketball people literally buy basketball shoes to play basketball in.
Yes.
Right.
I will wear my new shoes tonight when I hoop.
Right.
Yes.
Like that's what
I'm
they wear them for.
very excited to rock my new shoes tonight.
They were really sincere about them. They don't like all the nicest looking shoes. They're like, no, we don't wear those. Like these
So
are
you
really
can't play
comfortable.
basketball in these?
These don't even tie. These are slippers.
Oh, they don't tie?
I mean, they do, but these are just slide-on slippers. You cannot hoop.
He will dislocate every bone below his kneecap if he tried to hoop in those. That's like
it would not go well.
It's like trying to hoop in Prestos.
Yeah, no, it would not. These are literally just.
You got like high tops?
I got.
High tops still a thing?
Yeah. Well, for basketball shoes, they are.
The young guys is wearing
more the lows.
Like they wearing lows, and I don't understand how.
So I always was a high top guy until I bought a pair of Paul George's probably 5 years ago. That was my favorite basketball shoe I've ever hooped in. Did not turn my ankle once.
Wow.
Had the best support I've ever had. The grip was incredible. And I've actually transitioned from an only high top guy who laughed at. I never had Kobe's because they were low tops. I was scared, never had the Kobe's. To now, I just bought the new pair I bought with the new John Morant's.
See?
Which are they're a little higher than the low, but still on the low side.
You get a gun with it?
We was
We're having a real conversation there.
We was really
we was cooking.
We was cooking on some real life vibing.
Well, what I said was real life, though.
But no, Bull just went shots fired.
And then he slid in all this ammunition and put it on the table like, here you go. This guy.
Yeah, so I'll let y'all know how it goes tomorrow.
Are John Morant's Nikes?
Yes.
And so are Paul George's?
Yes.
Yes.
And so are Kyrie Irving's. Well, used to be.
Used to be.
Well, now he's not Nike anymore?
No.
No, he went with a Chinese company.
Yeah.
Right? Was it a Chinese company?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, something.
But they had LeBron's Nike, Durant's Nike, Luka's Nike.
Kobe's Nike.
Kobe was Nike.
Who sells the most besides Jordan?
People don't
LeBron?
People don't really hoop in Jordans, though.
They don't hoop
Jordans
in
are too
Jordans.
nice to
No,
hoop
but
in.
just period.
Who sells the most shoes?
Is
I'll
it
be
LeBron?
honest. The Kyrie's before the whole Kyrie situation, his shoes were everywhere. Great hooping shoes.
And they were fire. They came out with a lot of them. Now, who comes out with sheer raw, volume? LeBron has a shoe for every week.
Yeah.
LeBron Soldier XL under the covers, LA Series Midnight.
I actually got an issue, G. I want to address. We got 2 minutes real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Too many players have signature shoes right now.
Who's the worst player with a signature shoe that you can think of? Like, is unworthy of a shoe?
I love Devin Booker. He does not need his own shoe.
That is kind of wild.
I mean, he's a really good player, though. He's an all-star.
Yeah, but there shouldn't be 35 different signature shoes.
So he is correct. Like LaMelo Ball has a shoe.
But that's Puma. Like he went and signed.
You talking Nike guys, right?
Nike or Adidas. Like they're just
okay.
When I was searching, they're just.
I didn't even know they still made
12
Puma.
different brands of signature shoes, and I'm like, that's just.
Yeah.
It just feels too many. Like I feel like having your own signature shoe.
Are they all really unique, or are they kind of the same?
Like Luka. Okay. You can believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
Nike has a shoe line with Luka.
Yeah.
Luka's shoes are designed
for fat people.
No, but
okay.
They don't have the springy things in there that like the Jazz have. Yeah. So they're more designed for control and stop-start than they are levitation, which certain the Zion shoe. Zion doesn't need his own signature.
Yeah, Zion.
No.
He's below the line.
He hasn't played enough games.
Speaking of fat guy shoes, I mean, he's below the line.
But he's skinny though. He has the
lost a lot of weight.
He's the Luther Vandross award. Like he gets big and skinny and big and skinny. So now he's in the skinny version. He's with Team Jordan, and Team Jordan has him, Jason Tatum, Russell Westbrook.
Does Giannis have a shoe?
Yes, Nike.
He's good enough to have his own shoe.
Does Jokic have a shoe?
No, but I don't think he would ever sign a shoe deal. He probably wears the same shoes you do. He got those Brooks on.
Yeah.
And really? He's still dropping triple doubles.
He's leaving a lot of money on the table.
Nah, he's a flip-flop guy.
Yeah.
He's a horse guy. He's got his cowboy
boots on.
Here were the guys on Nike yesterday. I remember on top of my head.
Yeah.
LeBron, Durant, Zion, Booker, Ja, Tatum, Westbrook,
Giannis,
Sabrina Ionescu, the WNBA player, has her own shoe line now.
I think Breanna Stewart, don't she got him? Or,
not with Nike.
Where's Caitlin Clark?
She does not have a.
How is that possible?
No, she did. I don't think her shoe's out yet though. Yeah. She signed a deal. It's just not out
with
yet.
Nike.
I think it was with Nike.
I think it's Nike.
I don't want to speak.
Those will go off the shelves like
flop.
But those are sponsors like. Signatures, like signature shoes is like the people that like if you get a signature shoes, you get all the colorways.
Yeah.
Like it ain't like just we got this one pair of shoes and it comes in black and white.
Okay.
Like so
you can customize them.
It's a lot of them.
Enough about shoes.
Yeah,
the Luka shoes should come with like a little microphone where it complains to the ref when you play.
Well, so should the Tatums, and so should the Bookers.
I mean, they're all a bunch of whiners, but isn't Luka like the worst?
Luka
and
Tatum
for being the biggest whiner of them all?
Yeah, they both.
Comes with an auto flop button. You just hit him, you just pass out.
Just so you guys know, Caitlin Clark signed $28 million over the next 8 years with Nike.
$28 million per year.
It just says 28 over the next 8 years, so no, probably not per year.
Yeah. If they cold, they cold, I'll go get them. If they nice, I'm getting them.
Yeah. Basketball shoes are basketball shoes.
Yeah.
Are they designed? They're not designed specifically for women. The WNBA shoes.
No, they're designed for basketball players.
So it doesn't matter.
The men's shoes are designed.
But men and women have different type of feet.
No, feet are feet.
Not necessarily.
I think the functionality of the shoe.
I guess.
Men or women
you're right.
I would hate a woman to have my feet though.
Yeah, me too.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
On that, Ant, please give us a read to get us off.
Let's keep
Women
it
with
moving.
both feet.
All right, guys, you've heard us talk a lot about shoes, but you've also heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit fanduel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, guys. Yesterday was cut down day in the NFL. Today we'll find out players that have been picked up on waivers. You got to always remember that the initial cut down to 53 is not going to be the same roster. Specifically in the Browns case, we know it's not going to be the same roster that starts the season. We are 8 days away from opening day with the Chiefs and who are the Chiefs playing? Texans? Ravens, right.
Lamar versus Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And we are 11 days away from the Browns and most of the other teams getting started a week from Sunday against the Cowboys. Things of note that happened in the cut down day. The Browns kept all 4 quarterbacks. Obviously, that's temporary. They're not going to have 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. I can't imagine for week 1. Certainly, even if they did for week 1, which is unlikely, beyond that they wouldn't. Only 2 running backs on the roster. There seems to be speculation that Deontay Foreman, who was cut, will be brought back. You saw that last year with Maurice Hurst. They cut him. You do that as a procedural move, so the player's contract is not guaranteed for the whole season. Now, if I was a guy like, Foreman, I might be kind of pissed and want to go somewhere else, but he might not have other options. I don't know.
There's a little difference, though, because we talked about this on our text chain last night about how this reminded us of the Mo Hurst situation, right? The difference last year, as I went back to trying to figure out exactly what happened with Hurst, was they cut Hurst and brought him back so they could put Jordan Kanasic on the active 53-man roster, so they could put him then on the active IR, not the preseason IR, because if you go on the preseason IR, you miss up to 12 games to the full season.
Yeah.
The active IR could be activated after 4 games. The Browns put Luke Whippler on the preseason IR, or the non-active 53 IR, excuse me. I'm not sure who they're... If they're following that same method, I'm not sure who they're going to place on the active IR that would then become Foreman's spot.
Yeah,
it could be the quarterback thing, but
it could be the quarterback thing.
In my mind, it was the similar copy and paste of last year. I just don't think that's the actual situation.
And maybe it's not the case. I know it was Field Yates saying that he thinks that's what's going to happen, but there's no chance that. I mean, most teams carry 4 running backs.
Yeah.
Although some teams, the Bengals only kept 3. Bengals have 3 running backs, so it might be that they just go with 3. But you're certainly not going to go with 2, with one of them being Pierre Strong, or maybe they're not going to bring back Deontay Foreman. Samaje Perine got cut by the Broncos. There's a couple of other interesting running backs, that got cut. Maybe there's somebody else they like.
I saw, if you went, and this is just speculation. When you start watching, I watched the preseason.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a short yardage back, one thing I give it to, Kareem Hunt, he was not, the same explosive back we saw, but he could take some hits. Like Kareem Hunt was getting hit. When you doing 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 and taking them hits, them are some tough yards to get.
But Foreman's been that type of back.
But it seems like he's been dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, running backs, sometimes they just was like, hey, it just doesn't look like they're able to bounce back and jump back up. Like the hit he took that got hurt the last time, I was like, that was a regular hit.
Yeah. In terms of the 4 quarterbacks, the only logical reason I could think of as to why all 4 are still on the roster is Andrew Berry wasn't satisfied with whatever trade compensation they were being offered in terms of Tyler Huntley or Jameis Winston. I know Jordan Schultz reported today that Jameis was never actually in those trade talks, so we'll see who they're
not going to trade Jameis Winston. That was always stupid and never made sense.
I agree. I'm not advocating they would.
And Mary Kay apparently clarified what she wrote, that it was just that they would be willing to listen if somebody called.
Which is what every GM
fine,
should
but
do.
They're not looking to trade him.
But the only reason they kept Huntley around as the 4th is Andrew Berry must genuinely believe there is some team out there that would trade something of value in order to get Tyler Huntley, because there's no other reason to keep all 4.
What I don't get about that is you said they weren't offered enough. What are they going to be offered?
That's not a question for me to answer. That's an Andrew Berry question.
What's going to change between yesterday and tomorrow? Nobody's offering. nobody's offering more than a 7th-round pick for Tyler Huntley. I mean, it's just he has no value.
Maybe this is the way I look at it,
Yeah.
and I'll try to look at it from a different perspective, because on the outside looking in, it doesn't really look like why would you keep 4 quarterbacks? Maybe they're just gun shy. Maybe it's like, look, last year was traumatic for them. Like, they got to a point where they had a really good roster.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson went down during the middle of the season. He was done. DTR ended up being done for most of the year. And then now you're down to these other backup quarterbacks, and maybe they look at it like a situation, McNuggets, like, look, maybe we don't want to be in that position anymore. And if we're like, okay, if we're going to throw the football, and if quarterback is going to be a main position that we have, why not just say, okay, well, that's the most important position. We'll put 4 guys and think about it from a perspective of, okay, it's 2 running backs, but we know Chubb's coming back. So, I don't know. Maybe the emphasis is on throwing the ball around a lot, because there was only 2 tight ends as well. I would have never thought 2 tight ends would have been on this roster.
I could get the 2 tight ends situation a little more if they're truly going to the spread offense, less 2 tight end, no 3 tight end sets, because they don't have 3 tight ends on the active roster, at least for now. That could obviously change before the game. But if you're building a roster, and I know the initial roster can change, but if you're considering actually keeping 4 for week 1, you're hoping 3 of those guys don't play.
Yes.
Right? And I just feel like when you're putting together the whole collection of 53, you had to make some cuts you probably didn't want to make. Justin Hardy's another guy, Cleveland native, special teams ace, didn't end up making the initial 53. To keep a guy that you are praying never sees the field, no disrespect to Huntley or DTR or even Winston, you want Deshaun to play every snap for 17 games. That's the ideal situation here. To keep not just one backup, but a backup to the backup and a backup to the backup's backup, that just seems like a wasted resource when other positions could be helped out.
Anything's possible, but I don't see that as realistic, and I can't imagine they're going to have 4 quarterbacks. Well, a lot of teams don't even have 3. I just can't imagine you're going to use 4 of your roster spots on quarterbacks. It just, I know they had a lot of injuries last year. It just doesn't make sense. Let me throw something else at you.
Wait, before you do that, can you think of another reason other than
That's what I'm about to do.
Oh, perfect.
That's what I was going to throw at you.
There we go.
Maybe they're worried Deshaun Watson's not ready to play week 1. We haven't even considered that.
Yeah, we
I haven't considered that. You're right.
I haven't.
Besides, unless to me, that's the only reason you'd have all 4 quarterbacks to start the season. Now, again, I don't think they will, and I don't think that's the case, because I think within the next day or two, one of them will be gone. But that's the only other thing that makes sense to me, besides they're going to change it in the next day or two.
And that's so. Listen, I will say that's a plausible theory. If they actually do keep 4, I think that's a plausible theory.
Right. If they have 4 quarterbacks on opening day, that means to me Deshaun Watson can't play.
Or they are at least a little nervous about the overall effectiveness, or because you got to think about it. Like, look. What happened the last time? Like, when he was playing, he had shoulder injury. He had a shoulder problem.
Yeah.
He came back, and he wasn't able to throw. He came back against the Colts, didn't look like it was himself. And there was this whole back and forth about, is he going to be ready to play? Is he not going to ready to play? DTR, the infamous, I didn't know I was even playing until, I came to the stadium type. Like, maybe that's the thing. Like, maybe they're hedging their bets. But
it's the only thing that makes any sense, and even that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me, but
if that's the case, tell us today that there's a question. Deshaun may or may not be ready.
They're not doing
as
that.
opposed to not saying anything till the Saturday before or the Friday before.
Right. Now they got a veteran backup, so it's not the same
I'm just
thing,
saying, if we go into the entirety of next week, Monday's show, Tuesday's show, Wednesday's show, Thursday's show, with the anticipation of Deshaun playing, and this fan base gets behind, we're about to see Deshaun for the first time since that Baltimore game, and all of a sudden they pull the plug. G. Bush, I know you're the king of overreaction. You're the Duke of knee-jerk. You will be one of the more tame people online when it comes to the instant reaction to that. And if that is, and I don't think it is, Bull. I don't think that's the case.
No, probably not.
It's 99.9%.
I'm guessing Tyler Huntley's gone by the end of today.
Yeah. I agree, but that would be catastrophic.
We and don't get mad. We just spitballing, man. I don't got no inside information. I don't know if his arm is hurt.
Just speculating. It's odd to keep 4 quarterbacks.
I'm 97.8% sure that Huntley won't be here DTR is going to be the third guy, and Deshaun Watson is laughing somewhere drinking coffee like, yeah, my arm feels great, and I'm ready to go against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
Right.
But if you did keep 4, that's a very interesting situation. And by the way, Stefanski will not tell us nothing.
He's not going to say anything.
Matter of fact, if you thought he was tight-lipped before, he wants the Dallas Cowboys to prepare for all 5 of them. I want you to.
He may claim another quarterback today.
Right. He might got 6 dudes on the roster.
be.
Now you got to prepare for all 10 of them. Coaches be doing that stuff, man. But no, I think everything will be cool. DTR, I think won the job. I think Huntley did okay, but I thought DTR won the job, and Jameis Winston was always going to be the backup.
Of course. They would never trade him.
Like, and he's like the in-house quarterback whisperer. Like, they're not getting rid of him.
No.
Like, he's going to be doing whole sessions with Deshaun Watson. He's been calling him before the show. Hey, what, you good? Hey, what you wearing? You got your
It never made any sense, the idea of trading him. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Just one other note I thought was interesting from the roster trim downs. Only one undrafted free agent made the roster this year. That was Javion Cohen, the offensive guard out of Alabama. If you look at his preseason stats, he faced the most pass blocking stats of any guard in the preseason, only allowed 1 quarterback hit, only a few pressures, and over 100 pass rush opportunities. I thought he played his ass off throughout preseason and well-deserved to make the initial 53. And 2 7th-round picks made the 53, too, in Nathaniel Watson and Miles Harden. Andrew Berry's not perfect. No general manager is. But he does have a knack of finding talent late in drafts, in undrafted situations, and turning them into valuable players. We saw it last year with Ronnie Hickman. There's no guarantee Hardman or Watson or Watson or Cohen can turn into legitimate rotational players this year. But
I don't know that I buy that he's any better at that than any other GM. But
I mean, the Colts just cut every one of their 7th, 6th, and 5th round picks from this year's draft.
One team.
Mom, you just said I'm telling you, there's an example of one.
Guys, we missing something.
Browns just cut a 3rd-round pick from a couple of years ago.
I said he's not perfect. I said he's not perfect.
By the way, Anthony, I'm sorry to interrupt the show, but can we get a moment of silence?
For what?
Siaki Ika.
For one, DJ Samoa Joe himself, Siaki Ika. He's no longer with us. Pour out some coffee wherever you're at. Coffee. Moment of silence.
That would be funny if he was right now drinking coffee with Anthony Schwartz.
Yes, he is.
You see, DPJ got
and you know who might join them in a couple of weeks is David Bell.
That's the one when the rundown.
He made it. Jamari Thrash didn't make it.
Thrash and Bell over Michael Woods. Drew,
listen, I saw it. I was talking to Quincy. I was doing a podcast with him, and I said, man, I knew they was going to do it. They like David Bell. I think when you look at it, it's weird how you look at the bottom of your roster, right? At the bottom of the roster, David Bell is one of those dudes. He does not have gloves. He's not very fast. He does not look the part. He looks like an old 1986 receiver. It looked like he has Brian Brennan skill set. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, man, he just does not wow you, don't do anything. However, I always go back to Kevin Stefanski saying when they drafted him that he just liked David Bell so much. Look at him. Look at that nasty uniform. He got a nasty quarterback number, and look how loose his sleeves is, bro. This is nasty work. He has a mock turtleneck on.
It's anti-aura.
That is horrible. But he just does the medium stuff. They like, go run this route over the middle of the field that nobody else wants to run. And he runs it, and he catches the ball, and he falls. He gets 6 yards.
1 catch a game or 2 catches.
And they just like, he must be the smartest, non-existent, cool dude that makes sure the room is cleaned up after everybody leaves. He does all the small things. And the game against Cincinnati, they valued that game where when nobody was playing, they said his game tape against the Cincinnati Bengals when Flacco and where a lot of guys weren't playing.
Jeff Driscoll was the quarterback.
Jeff Driscoll, he played really well. Yeah. He caught a couple touchdowns, and they felt like that was more real world than what Mike Woods was doing in the preseason. Which, that's the only thing that you could come down to thinking about, because Mike Woods outplayed him. He didn't even really play in the preseason.
He got hurt against Green Bay in the first game.
And Mike Woods is a guy who's been here a couple of years. It's not like anybody's knocking down their door from Mike Woods.
And he'll
get back on the practice squad again.
And they saw enough of Woods, you know. So I was kind of.
I'm not sure there's a bigger disconnect between what the team thinks of a player versus what social media thinks of a player than David Bell. Because if you go on Twitter, David Bell's the worst receiver in the history of the world. And the team has told us time after time, we like David Bell. Like, we appreciate the fact that he may just be a guy, but we know we can count on him to be just a guy. It's like he's like a grilled cheese at a diner, G. Bush. You go, any diner in America, you order a grilled cheese. It's not going to blow you away. It's going to be fine. You'll be full. You'll leave, whatever.
It does what it does, though.
You can try and order something different at a diner.
Yeah.
And it could be great or it could be absolutely catastrophic. You could be in the bathroom 12 minutes later. And that's what a guy like Michael Woods or Austin Watkins.
Is a burger more reliable at a diner than a grilled cheese?
Pick your poison of staples.
American cheese, toast, butter.
I do love a grilled cheese.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to wow you, but it is what it is.
I think
and that's what Austin Watkins and Mike Woods is. He's not a grilled cheese?
He's not even worthy of grilled cheese status.
What is it?
A garden salad?
He's like, what's reliable at a diner but is an afterthought? Like a pickle?
A grilled cheese.
Applesauce.
No, pickle. Applesauce? No.
How is a grilled cheese? That's not.
Grilled cheese is higher status than David Bell is.
Like, you could listen.
Grilled cheese is good.
If you jazz a grilled cheese up, like if you get some real good cheese and a nice
I'm not talking that.
bread.
I'm talking your classic white bread,
David
Kraft
Bell
single.
is the dinner rolls that are on the table.
Ooh,
or the chicken noodle soup.
Okay,
I can eat chicken noodle soup better than dinner rolls.
The dinner rolls is wild.
Yeah.
Like dinner rolls, them things could either be hockey pucks or part of the decor for the table. You don't even really know if they're edible or not. But
I'm just saying it's so consistent. Like you can't really screw up a grilled cheese. That's why David. It's not even good.
But he's consistently.
He's just a guy.
He's below that. You know, like whereas grilled cheese is consistently.
If you had, and I think what it might be this. And a lot of times it boils down to this on just some regular football analysis. Yeah. When you get a guy like David Bell, what if David Bell could play the X, Y, and the Z?
There's some little things about him they like.
What if like he has to play Amari Cooper's position and he automatically just knows what to do? Right.
And then he may do that. He might be a good blocker.
I was going to say
things like that we don't pay attention to very often.
Right.
That they're like, well, it's our fourth, fifth receiver. I'd rather take this guy. We know we can keep Michael Woods if we need him on the practice squad, and
and maybe Michael Woods only plays the outside receiver.
Yeah, right.
David Bell, even though he doesn't play that much, when we call him up, he automatically is in his playbook. He knows.
They've had them both in camp for multiple years now. They've had extended looks at both David Bell and Michael Woods.
They like Bell more.
This kind of just has to be one of those decisions that, despite what we see in the preseason games, and Michael Woods had 2 touchdowns against Seattle, David Bell barely played this preseason. I gotta kind of just have to trust them on this one.
Yeah, the difference between David Bell and Michael Woods is not winning or losing them games.
Exactly.
Devin Bush made the roster.
He did. I think we kind of expected that.
6 linebackers made it. Watson, 11
9
DBs.
defensive linemen, not 10.
Well, Michael Hall is on the commissioner's exempt list. That was the reason.
Right.
But they still could have kept the 10th. Besides him.
Ika?
Yeah, Ika had no chance.
No, he had
I
heard. I'm not going to call the person out. But there is a member of the Cleveland media that I saw on Twitter yesterday say they were surprised that
I did
Ika
too.
got cut.
And that's
embarrassing.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Like that was such an obvious thing that was going to happen.
I mean, he like in the NFL, it's very difficult to see a person obviously not be an NFL player.
Yeah.
But he was very obviously not an NFL player. I mean, he was getting pushed around. He couldn't even stay in his gap.
Yeah.
Couldn't stay on his feet.
Like he's just running around on skates. Like I'm like, dang, bro, that was a tough evaluation. Like that one looked kind of crazy. Like it was so bad. Like Andrew Berry, he does that, right? Yeah. He's like, hey, listen, I missed on Iker, but I got Bookie Watson though. Like like that. Halasi, I got him though. Like he gets these weird type of guys that make the roster or whatever, but Ika was not.
Ika's hanging with Danny Shelton right now.
Oh, listen, he's
hanging with
Cameron Wembley.
The graveyard of Cleveland Browns defensive lineman pass.
All right, Anthony, what do you got?
Guys, as the football season gets near, there's no better place to get your tickets than Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the best deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And for our Arizona listeners, we have a very special Labor Day exclusive offer. You can get 50% off tickets to the Dodgers at Diamondbacks game on Labor Day exclusively on Game Time. Game Time is looking forward to that. All you have to do is go download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but just create your account and put in code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
What time is it?
Game time.
There you go. All right, let's get to our next topic here, which, of course, is there anybody that's going to pop up in the waiver wire here in the next half hour that we might possibly be interested in?
Browns at the 23rd spot on the waiver wire.
Right, based on reverse order of standings at the end of last year. I think that's through week 2 or 3 of the NFL season, and then it goes to the current standings in the current season. Do we have a list of guys, or is there no list? You want us to just do this off the top of our head?
We do have a best available player.
All right. Who determined the best available players? You, Mike?
I just picked some names I thought were...
Is Samaje Perine on there?
Samaje Perine's on there. Jerron Christian, the left tackle that was brought in by the Browns.
Well, didn't we decide it was Guerin?
Guerin Christian, Jerron Christian.
I don't remember now.
The left tackle who played in sparing mop-up duty, who filled in pretty admirably.
Who the hell is Nene Gawanu?
He's the guy I actually like the most on this list. He's a running back / kick returner from Minnesota.
Kick returner.
And that's kind of where he's a gadget guy. He's played 3 years in the league.
Yeah.
Only has about 35 career carries, about 15 career catches, but he has 3 kick return touchdowns in the last 3 years. He had 2 last year alone. Right. Blazing speed. And as a guy in the return game until Hines comes back, just as another running back, I know I don't love him as your third runner if it's just Ford, Strong, and then I can't pronounce his name, but that guy. But he's at least the guy I think that has return value and special teams interest.
Those wide receivers. I mean, Noah Brown actually had a nice year last year, but they're not going to sign a wide receiver. I
just put him on the list.
Yeah, I don't think they would sign a wide. I think the running backs. I don't know this guy from Minnesota. If he's a return guy, okay, then yeah, it makes sense. Samaje Perine's been a pretty good number 2 back.
I like Perine, to be honest.
He's better than Pierre Strong. He's probably better than Deontay Foreman.
He's also a really good pass blocker.
Here's some other. Well, Deontay Foreman. They cut Zonovan Knight. I mean, Perine's the best of those guys. Isaiah Spiller's done nothing in the league.
What's up with the Bengals? Didn't Bengals cut 2 tackle and a center?
They cut Jackson Carman, who was their second-round pick a few years back, but he's awful.
I mean, he's a second-round pick. But they did play him out of position, right? Wasn't he a tackle and they played him at guard?
Nah. Well, they tried him a little there because he sucked at tackle. He's
just a guy.
He's a bum.
That's crazy. How you whiff on a second-round pick like that? Like that,
you're asking
a Browns fan? Like, yeah, I'm like, that's a second round pick.
I mean,
that's like crazy.
The Bengals draft offensive linemen like the Browns draft wide receivers. It often doesn't go well.
And I was like, wait till let me ask Bull about this dude.
They drafted Billy Price in the first round. He was a bust.
Traded
they
him.
Drafted what's his name? The tackle from Alabama in the first round. He was a bust.
Jonah Williams.
Yeah.
Jonah Williams, total bust. And this Jackson Carman, the second they drafted him, I knew he was a bum. He's totally out of shape. He never works hard. He sucks. I can't believe they kept him. They only kept him around this long because they're cheap, and he was a second-round pick.
1 year. That's why.
No, it's been more. He wasn't a rookie last year. He's been around for at least 2, maybe 3 seasons.
This is going to be his 4th season.
Yeah, right. He sucks, but I mean, he was a second-round pick. Yeah, it's funny. When Bill Callahan was here, you're like, all right, bring him in. Maybe Bill Callahan can get something out of him. But
I got a guy. I'm looking at him. I seen this.
If Jack Conklin's ready to go, I'm not really worried about tackle anymore because I'll play him at left tackle.
Yeah.
If he's ready to go. But who else?
2 names.
Yeah.
KJ Henry, edge rusher from the Commanders.
Yeah.
He's a 5th-round draft pick, but he was a combine freak. He played for Clemson. Outside pass rusher.
Right.
He came on last year a little strong. I mean, he had a lot of pressures. He had 10 pressures and a league-high 9 hurries in the preseason.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that can get after the quarterback. Don't know if they want to bring in another defensive lineman. I thought Terrence Marshall Jr. was a good receiver or a nice prospect coming out.
Second-round pick.
I just don't think they're going to sign a receiver.
We just talked about the David Bell effect.
Yeah. They do have only 2 tight ends on the current roster. Donald Parham is a
veteran.
Complete receiving that offers you nothing as a blocker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's like 6'7", 6'8", and has played in some pass-happy offenses before. If you're looking for a third tight end.
It's not like he's put up much in terms of numbers.
No, but I'm just saying a big body. If you want to have a third tight end on the roster, he's kind of the biggest name available at the position.
I mean, if they're going more spread and more 3 wide receiver sets, I don't think they need a third tight end. What's funny is the Bengals, did you see the Bengals kept 5 tight ends?
Yeah, I did see that.
They don't have any good ones, though. They kept 5.
Well, they drafted 2 guys this year. We don't know if they're good or not. 2 of the 5 they drafted. The other 3 they have are all like
Gesicki.
Gesicki with Burrow will be serviceable.
Yeah.
The other two guys were like, okay. None of them are terrible. That's the problem. None of them are very good, and none of them are terrible. It's stupid to keep 5. They got to move on.
If they cut one, is that someone the Browns should be interested in? Like who are the two? Gesicki?
They got this guy. I can't even remember their names. Tanner McLaughlin or something. I thought both the two guys they kept that were in Cincinnati last year. I thought, like, in terms of being a third tight end, they're both more than good enough to be a third tight end.
So that's at least an area to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I would assume eventually they're going to cut one of those guys. I don't see how you keep 5 tight ends.
Anybody interested in Kadarius Toney?
No, definitely not.
I know. I just had to ask Mike.
Not a
Giants
chance.
guy.
Not a chance. Tony, you want him as far away from your team as possible. Him not playing is the best thing that could happen to your team.
There was a meme of him dressed up in a McDonald's uniform saying he just signed a 3-year deal, $9 an hour with McDonald's. And I'll give Ben Axelrod credit. He had a good retweet of that. It said, I still like him as a sleeper for my fantasy team.
Right.
Another name who got cut, not any interest in the Browns. They have enough quarterbacks, but Desmond Ridder, by the way, who lost a backup job in Arizona to Clayton Tune, who, if you remember,
was awful.
Put up 10 yards total in a game against the Browns last year,
Yeah.
was unable to put up any points on the board. If you're losing out in a backup quarterback battle to Clayton Tune while you're on a rookie contract making essentially nothing as a second-round pick.
Clayton Tune on a rookie contract, too, to be fair.
I know, but it's not like you're saving a ton of money in that regard. You must really be
they must think
not,
he sucks.
Yeah,
Nah.
not him.
Hey, listen, man, he need to just knock on doors and be like, listen, I am a backup. We're not even competing.
Yeah.
I don't want to compete. Like, if I was a quarterback I drafted anywhere after the second round, I'm like, listen, I'm going to Josh McCown's school of backup quarterbackness. Like, I'm going to be a guy that's going to come in and
or Chase Daniel, who made millions and millions and barely ever played.
Yeah.
He's the king of that.
Although Chase Daniel, by the way, on Twitter I saw the other day said of the 4 Browns quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson's going to be the worst on this team. So I don't think we like him.
Maybe took too many hits in his limited playing time.
Come on, Chase Daniel.
He said the Browns would be better off starting any of the other 3 guys.
Come on, Chase Daniel. Come on, bro.
He does the podcast with The Athletic now. I think him and Diana Rossini do a podcast now.
That, you know what? I gotta stop being triggered like that. Like there's a book out there. The book is this.
You want clicks?
When you are a football player and you're about to be done, you have to say inflammatory things to get on. Like, you can't just come out here and give run-of-the-mill commentary.
That's true. He's going to be on that Fox show with LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy says crazy shit all the time.
And Emmanuel Acho.
Yeah, he has to. You have to, like, as a former player.
Who's watching that show, by the way? LaShawn McCoy, nobody likes him. Emmanuel Acho is the most unlikable guy on TV. Well, maybe not the most unlikable, but he's unlikable.
It's hard to watch. It's sometimes.
Did they fire Skip Bayless?
I don't know.
What a waste of money they paid him to accomplish nothing there.
Look, man, the game is just different now. I don't think anybody believes none of the stuff they're saying. They don't believe that. Like, there's a lot of people that get on there. They do not believe. Like,
that's crazy to me. I've never said anything I don't believe, unless it was obvious I was joking. And
I have a hard time saying with conviction if I don't truly believe
That's
it.
weird.
Like,
I can't imagine going on the air and just lying about what you believe.
Have you watched the news? Have you watched?
I hear you. I'm just talking for myself.
Like, these guys are like come on, like
I get it. I get we have a lot of liars out there, but I'm just it's weird when you're doing sports to be lying.
There is going to be a documentary. I need it to be called the 4-Letter Network. Like, I talked to Jay about it. I'm like, you guys do understand that you played a role in destroying sports media, right?
I don't think sports media is destroyed at all. I think there are negative elements within it. I think there's still a lot of great sports people, some of us included, that do good work hard, care about telling the truth, and care about giving honest opinions. I just think the small percentage of people that don't do it
sometimes have the loudest voice.
Those are the faces of the industry. Like, you can do that and get by, and you can carve a nice little living doing some
I just don't think every big name in the business is a liar. I don't believe that.
I would say all of them, but there's 85. There's a lot.
I don't know.
And I wouldn't say lying. I'm saying they know that they got to get people to say, I like that or I don't like that.
I used to watch a lot of those shows on TV. I don't watch them anymore because
the debate format. So when the debate format jumped off, it put people in a position where it's like
you had to pick a side.
You had to pick a side, and even if you don't believe that side,
you had to pick a side.
Like it's like, and then that was all that dominated for 12 years.
I put on Get Up for a minute, and there was something about Josh Allen. Players voted Josh Allen as the most overrated player in the NFL, and that just confirmed my thought that most players are stupid. No offense, because Josh Allen's not overrated. In fact, in my opinion, Josh Allen's underrated. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm stupid. And then they go to break, and when we come back, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, not interested.
To put a bow tie on the waivers real quick.
Sorry. Yeah.
Any changes to the Browns roster between now and the opening game of the season?
Of course.
Well,
Sorry.
Do you feel like it's coming via someone they pick up via waiver wire or more of a trade?
Oh, I don't think no trade gonna happen.
If it's a trade, it's
somebody got injured. If it's a trade, like
the only trades this time of year are, cuttable players for cuttable players or for late draft picks. There's not going to be a significant move. They'll pick up players off waivers. They might make a trade. Like maybe I don't. You never know. There could be a back-end roster guy, but if they make a trade, it's going to be the same thing as picking up a player on waivers because it's a player that's going to get cut anyway.
Most uneventful, I would say, preseason that I've seen in a very long time. Not very many people made splashes where no one you thought was going to make the team. Didn't. Everybody basically did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah,
they didn't
no
play
surprises.
No surprises. And the Browns team is pretty much going to be the core of what they bring to the first game.
If the Browns had kept 3 quarterbacks and Foreman instead of 4 and cutting Foreman, we'd have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, nothing.
That is literally really all there was
I
to
guess
diagnose.
The David Bell, Michael Woods thing, but we've had that conversation before. It is unusual that they're only keeping 2 tight ends, but
they were going to keep 3 till Ricci got hurt, or Ricky got hurt, however you pronounce his last name. So that was more of a circumstance.
And they got Nick Harris. He's the backup tight end and fullback.
Yeah. But they're not going to stick with 4 quarterbacks.
No.
And they're not going to, and you can't go into the first game with 2 running backs, one of them being Pierre Strong. It doesn't make any sense.
I tried to look this up. I couldn't find an exact answer, but I also couldn't find anything that said it wasn't true.
Yeah.
In the last 3 years, I went back to every active roster I could find. Not a single team had only 2 active running backs for an actual game.
Way.
So it may have happened and I just missed it, but in the last 3 years at least, I couldn't find any team with 4 quarterbacks or 2 running backs. So
there might have been teams with only 2 running backs active on game day.
But not on the 53.
But not on the 53. There's no way.
Do we have any word on Hines? What is he?
He's still recovering from the injury he suffered.
So he's going to miss at least the first 4 weeks.
So
if you're counting on Nyheim Hines this year, I'm not saying he can't.
If he's out for the first 4 weeks officially,
But we don't know if he's close, if he's far away from being close. We have no idea.
So you have 2 running backs that are
out for at least 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So they're going to add somebody. It may just be bringing Deontay Foreman back. It may be bringing Foreman and somebody else. They have 2 running backs now. They could have 4 by the time we get to week 1. That wouldn't surprise me either.
If you had, real quick, G, if you had to pick your preferred option for the Browns with a 3rd running back, would it be Foreman or someone else who hasn't been on the team yet this year?
Of the guys available, I'd have Samaje Perine.
I saw a name, and I forget where it was because they cut it back.
I go Perine or Foreman. I think they're pretty negligible in terms of different. Perine's a little better pass catcher than Foreman, though.
Isaiah Spiller hasn't done anything. Zach Evans got cut by the Rams. They think he's going to be on the practice squad. Kevin Harris got cut by the Patriots. Guys. Those
are guys who are 3rd running backs, and that's it. So it's not. Yes, I would take Perine over Foreman, but it's
a
not.
Negligible difference.
Perine's a more well-rounded player.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do. I think the Bengals might be interested in bringing him back too. They don't have much of a 3rd running back either. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But that's the Browns situation, and we should hear in the next 15 minutes some updates on waivers and who players moving. But were there any shocking cuts in the NFL? I feel like there were a couple, but I guess not.
Peoples-Jones.
DPJ.
That was not shocking.
DPJ.
Remember when Earl wouldn't trade him for Aaron Donald?
Hey, look, man, that's the big.
Did Earl really say that?
Yeah,
Earl did say that.
What was it? What was the trade?
He would only offer. No, he was.
He's that serious?
This one I do think he was that he would only offer for Aaron. We're making Aaron Donald trade packages.
Yeah.
He said DPJ in a fourth I wouldn't do anymore.
Oh my God.
That is the.
Is that the worst take in the history of the show?
Well, it might be a 2024. We're still collecting those.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was 23. That was last year.
That was last
was that
year.
23?
That was last year.
Now I will say
Earl
that,
would have said no to Aaron Donald and Aaron Donald for DPJ and a third round pick.
That is from
That's
God's
funny.
from Earl's mouth to God's ear. That is what he said.
this is the DPJ is a classic case of just loving your guys because you didn't have nothing else.
That's right.
Like, it's just loving. Like, you didn't have nothing. You just loved. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? You ever had that girlfriend and you be like, man, that's the best looking girlfriend I had. Then you went to college. You be like, oh, she's not that good looking.
From a small town?
That was hometown cooking.
Yeah.
I got out here in these streets and be like, wow. Even the 7th, it's a whole different gameplay. You be like, yeah. Why was I ever sad that we broke up? Yeah. Then you see her 10 years later, you're like, I've definitely upgraded. But no, I'm not speaking from experience.
Would you trade right now Deshaun Watson and a third round pick for Dak Prescott?
If they was going to give that up, probably.
You would do it, right?
Yeah, I think you'd have to. Yeah.
Probably.
I can't believe you even thought about it for a second.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Earl would say no to that right now, 100% guaranteed.
There's no question you take that, right? You have to trade that.
You would, that's like being like, it's like I don't really necessarily like Joe Burrow. I mean, I like Joe Burrow, but like he played for the other team. But it was like, oh, can you get Burrow? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that trade. Like, I don't understand. Like, your allegiance to players, like, do I think Deshaun Watson could be a good? Yeah. Do I think he can get back to a certain level? Yeah. But I'm not stupid. Why I gotta be dumb? Like, you don't need to. Like, I'm sure if they asked them, would you trade G. Bush for, I don't know, Mike Tirico? Take Mike Tirico.
I'm not trading you. I wouldn't trade you for Mike Tirico.
Hey, listen, I don't think
Mike Tirico is one of those guys he would never be real. He's too, polished and like
I'm sure
national media.
I'm
guy.
talking
Great
about
broadcast.
I'm talking about if you could get him on an interview.
I wouldn't do it.
I appreciate that.
You're my guy. I got your back.
And wait for our guest. You want to talk a little Guardians?
Yeah, we can move
my
on to our
gosh.
Guardian segment. I'm not going to do a read, though.
I've been waiting to get to this. This crazy.
Yeah, I have some. G, you go first. I'll give you the floor first.
He got to read?
No read.
No read.
We're not going to save our reads for our guests, so.
All right. So look, like, Bull, this is the. It pains me to say this, man. But the Guardians, they missed the boat. They missed a golden opportunity. And I know that they can still come back and they can still do some stuff.
We're going to have to hold it for now.
Gee, hold thought because our
we
guest
will
is
get
here.
to that in
Yeah.
just a little bit.
And wait till you guys see what's walking in the studio right now. It is not just an esteemed guest, but it is an esteemed guest plus a very special mascot.
All right, first let's send it to.
Give us a read and we'll.
Mike, I'm actually going to toss it out to you guys because I'm back here by myself.
Okay.
Cue me up, yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
G. Bush, every Tuesday and Friday during the football season. Not Monday and Friday, Tuesday and Friday during the football season. G. Bush will be joining you with the Ultimate Brown Show, breaking down everything you missed from the game before on Tuesdays, previewing what's coming ahead in the game the following Sunday. Plus, if it's a Thursday night game, you're going to get some instant reaction from G.
That's crazy.
On Friday. It's 5 o'clock both days, correct, G?
That is correct.
So make sure you guys tune into the Ultimate Brown Show. Bull does the Ultimate Guardian Show with Zach Meisel every Monday and Friday. You guys know it's the best Guardian show on the interweb. There's no question about it. And it is every Monday morning, every Friday morning, barring some schedule changes. Also, Jason and I do the Ultimate Cav Show. All those fall under the Ultimate YouTube Show, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel.
And why don't you bring in our guest, Mike?
And then we're going to bring in our guest once Anthony plugs in Mr. Kaulig's microphone here before he can talk. How you doing, man? Great to see you. Thanks for joining us in studio. And with that, we have one more special present. Kimmy, how you doing? This is what happens when we're down a producer, by the way, and I'm on the panel. So with that, let's welcome in Matt Kaulig here, who has some very exciting news to
What's happened?
share with
Hey,
us.
man, how are you?
Guys, I brought teddy bears.
Oh.
You bought a little one and a big one.
I know. That's kind of weird, but.
Yeah, that's true.
No, the mascot is totally, I'm all down for the mascot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we brought this guy.
I'm down for the mascot. I love it.
Wait, Safety Sam,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah.
Safety Sam, it's our official. So, I mean, obviously this week and the next couple weeks we have, it's National Teddy Bear Day. You know how they have National Pretzel Day,
everything,
National Pizza.
Yeah.
So September 9th is National Teddy Bear Day. So it's a really cool thing that we do with NASCAR and the NASCAR Foundation. We're way involved. That we give these teddy bears to kids in hospitals. So we go to children's hospitals. And this year we are giving away 5,000 teddy bears at 110 different, children's hospitals.
That's awesome.
So, it's called the Speedy Bear Brigade, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Do you bring the mascot to the hospital? I'm sure the kids would love that, right?
Yeah. Well, so think about like being in and I know we're talking about sports, and we are talking about NASCAR, and it's part of NASCAR, but it just shows in all of the sports leagues do amazing things, like with foundations and with charity and everything else. But NASCAR does a really, really great job, and so we've gotten way involved. But every kid that's in a hospital, like they don't want to be there,
right?
Whether they're sick, or they have cancer, or they're injured, they fell out of a treehouse, or whatever, wherever they're there, they don't want to be there. So, and they're sad to be there. And so that's one of the things that NASCAR Foundation does is like decided to, if you go to their room and bring them a teddy bear. So we have these boxes that have, that we give the kids that you can color. So there's coloring books, there's a bear, there's coloring books, there's crayons, there's a Jenga set, playing cards, and then they can color. I mean, think back to being an 8-year-old kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it gives them something to do, and whenever somebody gives you something. So it's been awesome. So we have here in Northeast Ohio, they're all coming up, and we're doing the main event at Akron Children's Hospital. And we have the University of Akron marching band is going to play, so we're going to have like a parade for these kids.
That's awesome.
So all the kids that can come out, will be there. If not, then they can watch from the windows, or we can just go in and give them teddy bears. So I don't know. It's awesome.
We're very lucky in Northeast Ohio that we have such a multiple great hospital systems here. But it's sad. I mean, I've spent a lot of time at Sideman Cancer Center because my wife has had leukemia.
Okay.
And I've been at Rainbow Babies there, and you see, I mean, there's nothing more heartbreaking than seeing a kid with cancer. And so any toy that they can get, because a lot of these, I remember during COVID, like some of these kids couldn't even have visitors. It's horrible. So, and some of these kids are there for months or even years in some cases.
Yeah.
So anything that can be done to brighten their days, to make their days a little better. And so kudos to you and the organization for doing this, because it's big.
Yeah, it's fun. And so, again, like I said, with sports, like it's not only even this week is Cleveland Guardians charities week. I mean, we had a golf tournament and we're celebrating, have give-a-thon, with the Cleveland Guardians. So any organization that is, what do you say? Like you have fans and you have people, but these organizations really do give back to the community and are doing great things and being leaders.
Is there a way that we could help out as well if you want to get involved in this charity event?
So even giving these teddy bears away, if you go to NASCARFoundation.org, it's $25. So if you donate $25, you can give one of these teddy bears to a kid, and even online, like write a special note that they'll be given. Even if it's like a note of inspiration or just saying who you are or what it means a lot. Can you imagine you guys can imagine being in a hospital with a broken leg, or you tore your ACL or whatever, and then just somebody even gives you a teddy bear. And that's a nice that's awesome. Yeah.
I got a parrot when I had surgery when I was 7. I still
a real parrot or
a stuffed parrot?
Oh,
they gave me a parrot
stuffed
when I had surgery when I was 7. It wasn't a teddy
bear.
No,
a real parrot.
This is awesome.
I used to love like stuffed animals. Like so when I was young, I had a Cabbage Patch doll. I don't know if you remember Cabbage Patch doll. My dad was not happy at all. Like him and my mom was like, hey. She's like, I don't know about the Cabbage Patch doll. Like, I don't know. But I love this Cabbage Patch doll. Like, I used to play like random football with it. I even tore the arm off. Like, they sewed it back on. But it was like, but listen,
psychotic behavior.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. People look at me different.
Yeah.
I had My Buddy and I had pound puppies too. So like when you get that, you be looking around like you be in the whole nother world. And the cool thing about it is a lot of these kids, because I used to work at university hospitals in Sidemen, and we go down and we would screen people, underprivileged children, to see if we can help with their medical bills. And a lot of these kids do not have visitors like that. Their parents work. They come from single parent homes sometimes, and then they're just there. Like, and the only people they see are the nurses and the people that come through. And to have a mascot come through with like a teddy bear and coloring,
it's unbelievable. Crazy. Yeah, and that's why we do it. We have another program at NASCAR Foundation because we're way involved. Even the guy that runs my race team, his name's Chris Rice. He's on the board of the NASCAR Foundation. So another thing that we're way involved in is giving bikes away. So we do a bike build. So I think we're doing it at 13 tracks this year. So the first one was at Daytona. It's the Daytona 500. And we have volunteers even from our company that go down and build these bikes.
That's awesome.
And build the bikes for the kids. And they have no idea. So it's these inner city kids that are coming in, 100 of them, that are doing, have special games, and they're doing pit stops. We've got the tire, and they're doing races on bikes, or like tricycles, and it's just fun. It's a fun day at the track, outside of the track, and then they get to go to their first NASCAR race. I mean, these kids don't get to go to races, so just exposing them to the sport, and then at the end of the event, we. And I actually think this is a little messed up, but they have 2 kids, so they choose 2 kids out of 100.
Right.
And they bring them up on stage, and they announce, you 2 get bikes. You were like the MVPs of like the games or whatever, and congratulations. And then all the other kids are like, oh, I guess that's cool. But then we announce that you're all getting bikes.
Yeah,
okay.
So then they all get bikes.
That could have been traumatizing.
I don't like the 4 minutes in between. Hey, these 2 get bikes, and then you guys don't.
You really trying to judge their character. If I was a kid, I'd be like, oh hell no. Listen, I deserve to get that bike up there.
The one kid booed, he doesn't get a bike.
Right. He was much more nice than you are.
Speaking of the race team, Matt, I know trophy hunting with Kaulig Racing is now out. The first episode dropped on Monday. It's a new docu-series. It's essentially Hard Knocks, but with NASCAR following you and your race team.
That's right.
What's the experience been like having kind of a camera crew follow you guys around through the first little portion of the season in the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's cool. It's been it just aired. I think it's on NASCAR.
NASCAR YouTube.
NASCAR YouTube, and the first episode just came out. What is today?
Monday.
Yeah, it just came out Monday.
Yeah.
What is today? Monday?
Today's Wednesday.
I don't even know what day it is.
It came out on Monday. Yeah.
But it came out Monday, and it is awesome. And it is a behind the scenes look at a NASCAR team. Most people don't see that.
No.
And we're going on the CW NASCAR Xfinity Series, going on the CW next year, or even starting here in a couple weeks with when we start the playoffs, which is in a couple weeks. And so they wanted to do a docuseries and do it on our race team. So it's awesome. So it is a little weird, like somebody following you around all the time. So you have to kind of watch what you're saying and what you're doing. But it's really, right? It's awesome. Yeah. So you guys. Do
you have final cut over what they put on there?
No.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't think we do.
You really in it then.
Kim does, not me.
So
Kim has final.
She's reviewing the tapes.
Yeah.
This is
how
unacceptable.
are things going on the track?
Everything's great on the track. We've won 3 Xfinity races this year.
Awesome.
We have a couple more road courses coming up. SVG. So Shane Van Gissenberg is he's leading the points. He's leading the series. We have AJ Allmendinger. We haven't won with AJ yet this year, but it's just because of the most horrible luck and the most horrible. For instance, this past weekend Friday night we were at Daytona. We were racing Daytona,
right?
And AJ's awesome there, and we led the most laps, and we were about leading on the last lap and just got wrecked. So just stuff like that. We should have won Friday night, and
so.
But I'm predicting that AJ is going to win the championship.
Me too.
Okay.
He's that good. He's been that dominant, and we just haven't won. So, But we're making a bunch of driver changes, and we're moving AJ Allmendinger back up to the Cup Series next year, and we've got some great young talent in the Xfinity Series. So
how does that work?
We're excited, man.
And when they wreck, do they just send you that invoice? How does that?
No,
is that direct deposited?
No, you have to buy a car.
So they just be like, yo, you saw the wreck, new whip, new car.
So especially in the Xfinity Series, no, I'm not even kidding. Like, when you wreck a car that bad, it goes in the dumpster.
You don't even chop it up.
No, literally,
it's probably nothing salvageable.
in the dumpster.
Wow.
So if the body's that bad,
Yeah.
there's a chassis. So all the metal, like all the car, the body of the car goes on top of the chassis.
Yeah.
So then that thing gets wrecked up.
Right.
So that's what goes in the dumpster,
Yeah.
and there's nothing you can do.
Okay.
But no, you got to buy. You got to buy a car.
Shout out to you, man.
Yeah.
My Range Rover went down, and I was crying.
No, I cry if we wreck enough cars.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a couple weekends ago, where we had 4 Xfinity cars and 2 Cup cars, and we wrecked 3 Xfinity cars and 1 of the Cup cars. So that's 4 cars you wreck.
Yeah.
And so people say, do you have insurance on them? No, you don't have insurance on them. They're going to wreck.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're going 200 miles per hour
Yeah.
with 40 other cars. So, no, it's a ridiculously fun, exciting sport. And so the adrenaline that you have, like even watching it and as a fan. So that's what's cool about the docuseries is that you get a little bit of an insight into, what it's like. I know in part of the series, like we're up on the pit box and you're hearing the radios and hearing what goes on. It'd be similar to an NFL game where, you hear what the coaches are saying.
Right.
And the NFL's doing a way better job, right? Even the last couple of years of being even like almost like in the huddle and on the sideline, and you hear some of the top players are mic'd up and I love that Hard Knocks. I love Hard Knocks. I think Hard Knocks is like.
And the Browns will be on one. There's an in-season one this year where they're doing
each
team in the AFC North for 1 week later in the year. So we'll
in
see
December. So
we'll see the Browns in one episode this year.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. What do you? How are you guys talking about the Browns?
Well, we haven't seen Deshaun Watson on the field. I mean, the team's really good.
Yeah.
Besides him, I think a lot of us don't know what to expect from him. If he's good, they'll be good. If he's not, they'll be still good, but not as good.
Have they held him out because of injury, or do we know? We just don't know. We just don't know.
They're not very transparent about what's going on.
I need 4,500, Deshaun.
Yeah, let's go. He's got to have a big year.
I need
if he has a big year, maybe they win it all. We'll see.
Well, we're pulling for him, right? We're pulling for.
That's right.
And we're just going to talk about the Guardians.
They're not playing well right now.
We was going to talk about these Guardians.
I know, but we're still on top.
Well,
it's hard.
It hurt my soul.
The ebbs and flows of
coaster.
it just is. Now we're just right there, and it's just that time of year. I mean, sometimes you're hot and sometimes you're cold. You just got to get through it.
That's right.
Right.
Well, they got to win today,
and that's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
I know.
We
What are
appreciate
we?
you coming
Are we
down.
1 up? What are we now?
No, it's
They're tied. The Royals
We're tied.
actually have the tiebreaker right now. They're playing each other today, so if they lose, they're in second place for the first time since like the first week of the season.
Since April. And you mentioned the docuseries. New episodes come out every Monday, so
Yep.
make sure you check out episode 2. It's a 4-part docuseries, so there's still 3 more parts. You can go watch the first part of Trophy Hunting with Kaulig Racing on YouTube. It's on the NASCAR YouTube page. Out right now.
Yeah.
Matt,
go.
thanks so much for joining
And
us.
Teddy Bear Day is
And September 9th.
September 9th.
Yeah.
National Teddy Bear Day.
There you go.
Awesome.
There it
That
is.
Awesome,
Matt
man.
Kaulig
Great
has all
work.
the
Thank you for
information.
coming down.
Oh yeah, we forgot to tell you. I'm donating $25,000 to it.
Nice.
So
Damn.
here it is.
Man, I'll tell you,
I know. It's a lot of teddy bears, boys.
It's a that's lovely.
We got to step our game up.
Yeah.
I'm just working on the starter plan. It's like 150, and then we give crayons. That's what we're gonna do.
All right. Good.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thanks so much
Thank
for
you,
coming
Matt.
in. Really appreciate it.
All right.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks,
here on
guys.
the Ultimate
Appreciate it.
Cleveland Sports Show.
Yep.
That was Matt Kaulig.
Yeah.
Steve, give us a little
I
bump
leave?
out.
There we
and
go.
Both tell us about
Ultimate
the Ultimate
Guardian show every Monday and Friday, of course, with Zach Meisel and I will be back on this Friday. A lot of frustration right now with the way the team has played over the last few weeks. They've lost 3 straight to the Kansas City Royals. They're trying to salvage the final game of the series today. Tanner Bybee will be on the hill against Michael Waka. The game starts in about an hour. It's a big win for the Guardians. You got 29 games left in the regular season. They are tied for first place. Royals have the tiebreaker, so technically they'd be they're the division leaders as of right now. We'll see if the Guardians can take care of business and salvage this final game before they play the Pirates after that. Pirates not playing well, obviously, but so check out the Ultimate Guardian show Monday and Friday, usually at 9 a.m., although we change the time sometimes.
Man, I just realized, man, that's what we call the difference between W-2s. See, like what kind of bag you got to have to just be like, hey, hon, I'm going to have to buy 4 new race cars today.
Yeah.
Well, Matt's done very well.
I think they lost part of the mascot uniform.
Yeah, we did. No,
we may want to tell him.
No, he'll just buy another mascot.
The mascot lost an arm here.
Well, Ant, go run that upstairs to Kimmy and Matt. G, you were about to get off on a Guardians rant. Let's dive in because I want to follow up, Bull, before you chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, it's disappointing because, I continue to say this, and I wish I was wrong when I say this, but I truly, honestly believe that at any given year, there's only 10 to 15% of your teams that are trying to actively do everything in their power to win. And some teams are just really good at masking that and knowing that this is a business for them. And if they happen to win along the way, then great. If they happen to impact and be able to win some games while making money and doing that, that's a cherry on top of the sundae. But I can't help but look and look at the way that the Guardians, over a larger sample size, right? Not just game to game. Everybody can see that they're losing steam. Mm-hmm. They're losing momentum. They're losing the advantage that they had on everybody else, which was you had guys that were younger that were playing above their head. You had guys, your 2 starting pitchers are young guys that you're counting on that haven't really had that much experience. You're counting on these guys that are platooning different places to continue to, Stephen Kwan was hitting 400. We always put a lot on Jose Ramirez. We always knew that Naylor was going to have to play well and add that power number. But the fact that the trade deadline, and this is not just this year, the Guardians have not gone out and said, we believe we can win it all, and we need to go big. They haven't gone big. They did some nice little things here and there, but they could have put themselves in a better position to put a lot of gap and distance between the Kansas City Royals as well as the Minnesota Twins. And they could have did that. And they could have did it in a way which it wouldn't even have disrupted their core guys in the farm system. So when I ask myself, what does it come down to? You can't win a championship and your whole business model is built on guys overachieving or getting discounts or finding guys that you can salvage and rummage and Salvation Army. Not saying they're salvage, but looking for bargains, looking for guys that you can get a really good value on. It's hard to win that way, and they're selling us that is the way that it's going to be done. But this is a year where they were playing with house money, they were playing with the momentum. And they just didn't capitalize on it, man. It just didn't. It just seems like that momentum is gone. And now we really gonna see what it is, because now you're even. Now it's a ball game, because now people smell blood in the water and say, well, listen, we feel like we got just as good a chance as they do. And Kansas City is playing like that right now.
Yeah, this whole Guardian situation is incredibly frustrating. I went back this morning and looked at their preseason projected win total in Vegas. It was 79.5 games, which they're going to blow out. They're going to beat that number by a good chunk. But this team heading into the season was not expected to be a division winner. This team heading into the season was not expected to compete for the best record in baseball for 3/4 of the season. And that's what makes what's happening right now that much more frustrating. It's like you walk into the bar, right? Mm-hmm. You see an absolute smoke show, 10 out of 10. You're like, I got no chance of talking to her. That's the World Series. And somehow she comes up and talks to you and says something.
Right.
And you're like, ooh, I'm getting my hopes up. There might be a chance.
You?
And then you say something stupid because you're not used to being in that situation and it's over.
Yeah.
And it only hurts because you got yourself excited and believed it could happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the Guardians have no chance of winning a postseason series or winning the World Series, but if they don't change drastically the caliber and quality of play that we're seeing from the last essentially month from this team, they do have no shot at competing and winning at the highest levels. What's incredibly frustrating, G and Bull, is through the first 4 months of the season, or really the first up until last month, fans showed out every time they needed to show out. Attendance numbers are way up. Every main time, prime time weekend series was a sellout on Friday, a sellout on Saturday, and a sellout on Sunday. Trust me, I tried getting tickets to a couple of those games. Unable to get tickets because of how well the fans showed out and supported this team. And in response, at the trade deadline with the best record in baseball, although we don't know exactly which players the Guardians were actually in on versus were actually not in on, and that does play a difference in what you can. They apparently made an offer for Jack Flaherty. Their offer got bested, whatever. They tried to do more. They got Lane Thomas and they got Alex Cobb. And so far, Alex Cobb's pitched 2 games for the Guardians, and Lane Thomas has been worse than anyone they had playing that position prior to acquiring Lane Thomas. The Guardians had the best record in baseball. The best record in baseball. And squandered an opportunity to improve this roster significantly. You can argue that Thomas, in theory, should have been an upgrade, and that Cobb would be an upgrade. But neither's come to fruition, and neither was a big enough upgrade to solidify their status as World Series contenders. Well, over the last month and a half, Jose's been okay. Just okay. Everyone else in the lineup's been absolute trash. John Kenzie Noel has hit for power. He's the exception, but he's not one of the main guys they've counted on throughout. Kwan's under 300. Naylor's hitting sub 150 in the last 2 weeks. Freeman, Schneeman, Rocchio, they're all abysmal. Fry's been terrible. And you have these guys in the minor leagues like Manzardo, like a Valera, who are waiting to be called up, who, have you've said many times, Bull, have nothing left to prove in AAA. And the fact that we are now sitting at this point.
who's been red hot.
DeLauder, too. The fact that we're sitting at this point and they continue to run out the same lineup day after day after day, with the only changes being who's hitting second and who's hitting seventh, and putting one subpar player in and taking one subpar player out, it just feels like, I know they're trying, but it doesn't feel like they're really trying enough. And I know that's an intangible, you can't grasp that, Bull, but it feels like they've squandered an opportunity.
I mean, you could grasp the fact that ownership, that winning is not a priority. I mean, that's, yeah, you can't blame the front office for that ultimately. How much is the front office fault? That you don't know, but it's clear that winning is not a priority to the owner. That's always been the case. They've won in spite of him. I'm not saying he's the worst ever, because there are positive qualities about him in terms of he's hired a lot of good people and he leaves them to do their job. That is admirable. But he's not doing everything it takes to win. So there's a lot to unpack from what you guys went through. They didn't do enough at the trade deadline is completely fair. They certainly could have done more. They certainly have not done all they could in 8 years. 2016 was the last time they went all in at the trade deadline. And they haven't done it once since. Not that every year they should have, but there have been some years they should have, and certainly this year they should have. They should have gone all in. They did not. Now, they didn't do nothing, so that's not fair. And Lane Thomas has been a really good player the last 2 years. There was no way. I can't kill them for him being this bad, because there's no way you could have seen him being this bad. They could have done more, no doubt about it. I wanted 2 hitters. They didn't get it. I wanted a better pitcher that was healthy than Alex Cobb. They weren't able to do it. Now, the reality is that the biggest reason they're playing shitty baseball right now is not because they didn't do more at the trade deadline, although that factors in. The biggest reason is because of what you just talked about, because their best players are not performing. When your best players don't perform, you lose. That's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor are their 3 best players. And those guys have done nothing for a month, essentially. Jose's been Naylor and Kwan have been hideous. And those are your 3 best players. Now, the lineup was probably always going to catch up with them at some point this year. And yes, they overachieved for a lot of the season. And maybe that was the reason they didn't go all in. But I'm sick of the excuses for not going all in. And maybe if you had gone all in and gotten another player, gotten another 2 players, maybe things wouldn't have gotten as bad as they've gotten now. There's plenty of criticism here. The ownership not spending money is a disgrace. The front office and the decisions by the front office to not only be petrified, they are gun shy, in my opinion, because 2 years ago, beginning of last year, they had to give away Nolan Jones and Will Benson, and they both played well last year. But neither of those guys was any good this year, okay? And I believe they're gun shy when it comes to trading prospects. They're too conservative when it comes to making trades. And that is some on the owner, but there is blame for this front office. And I respect this front office, and they have, for the most part in their tenure, done more good than bad. But I can't never criticize the front office. Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff have failed overall in the last couple of years. They have failed to do a good enough job. They have not developed hitters. Every top prospect that comes up has sucked.
Yeah.
Give me a hitting prospect, Give me a hitting prospect that has come up and been good. None of them. So even if they do call up DeLauder, who they should have and haven't, even if they do call up Manzardo, who they should have and haven't, even if they do call up Valera, who they should have and haven't, I don't know. I mean, those are your best prospects. I don't know that they're going to be any good because Tyler Freeman was a big-time prospect. He's been terrible.
Rocchio.
Gabriel Arias, big-time prospect. He's been terrible. Rocchio, big-time prospect. He was terrible. They have developed nobody. Other guys have gone to other places and developed. Look at Yandy Diaz. They never really gave him a chance. He went to Tampa Bay. He's become a really good player. So there's a lot of blame to go around. The front office being gun-shy on trades. They sat on all these guys. Many of them have lost value. At one point, 2-3 years ago, you could have got a ton for Jose Tena. All you got was Lane Thomas, who sucked. And Tena has been better in Washington than Lane Thomas has been here. You could have gotten a lot for Arias a few years ago. He has no value now. You could have gotten a lot for Freeman a few years ago. He has no value now. You sat on all these guys. You were afraid. You didn't want to trade for Sean Murphy. You didn't want to trade for JT Real Muto. You didn't want to trade for any of these guys because you had Bo Naylor. Bo Naylor stinks. He can't hit either. He hasn't hit the whole season. I know he's good at framing pitches. Fine, dandy, beautiful. I love it. It's a positive. He can't hit. He's not hitting. Now, I'm not saying none of these guys are ever going to hit. To be fair to Bo Naylor and Arias and Rocchio and Freeman, none of them have been up enough in the majors that I'm certain that none of them are going to hit. Some of them or all of them may eventually hit. But to this point, none of them have looked good offensively outside of Bo Naylor for a brief stint at the end of last year. And that's why they are where they are in combination with the fact that all their good players, including Fry, who was an all-star, have completely gone down the tubes. And you can't win with just the bullpen. And you know what? The starting pitching hasn't been bad, but it's not been good enough.
And considering they lost Bieber in the second week of the season.
Yeah.
Logan Allen, Tristan McKenzie, two of their first initial 5-man rotation players are in AAA.
Yeah.
They've patched work together a good enough rotation.
Yeah, it's good enough.
But good enough is not good enough
it's good enough with the bullpen they have.
But it's not good enough to outweigh the lineup.
A lineup that was already flawed and has its best players doing nothing.
Exactly.
And all that being said, I still think they have time to turn it around.
Yes.
And I think all the other teams in the American League are flawed enough that it's possible if they get back to being hot again, that they can make a run in the playoffs. But right now, it's hard to have any faith in this team.
All they had to do, and this is easier said than done because I talk about it all the time about Myles Garrett. One of the things that we looked at was Myles Garrett was a guy that was dominant, and we said, "Can you find me another star?
Yeah,
find me another dude." Now it looks like they got Denzel Ward, then they got JOK, and then look what happened. Your defense is lights out. The Guardians have never, ever found. They had Lindor and Ramirez. You lost Lindor. They haven't found.
And by the way, Andres Jimenez, who they got from him, has been absolutely awful.
This year's been not good.
He hasn't hit for 2 years. He had one good year offensively.
And they have not found another star.
No.
Like, what I mean, not guys like the guy, Naylor's good.
He's not a star,
Fry, good.
Quan's not a star.
Jimenez, he has a great glove, but to be a star in baseball, you got to be like, if you say, remember, 5-tool players, hitting, running, can you field, can you throw the arm, all that. If you had to pick, what is Jimenez? He's what, a 2-tool player?
He's great in the field.
Good base runner.
He's a good base rusher. Runner.
He has no power.
Doesn't hit for power. Doesn't hit for average.
I think his good year offensively was an anomaly, and people here got awfully snarky about Francisco Lindor.
He's having an incredible
I would
season.
much rather have Francisco Lindor than Andres Jimenez. I don't care who's making more money. If the Guardians still had Francisco Lindor and they didn't con the fans into believing that they couldn't afford to pay him both, maybe the Guardians would be in a lot better shape. Can you imagine if you added Lindor into this lineup right now? It'd make a big difference.
The power you would have
Yeah.
in the middle, in your infield.
Right.
You have Naylor, you got Lindor, and you got Ramirez. You can deal with Jimenez, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back and relitigate the Lindor trade or whatever the case may be, but they have not found another star.
No.
All these other guys are finding stars.
No.
Bobby Witt Jr. then came around, and all of a sudden the Royals is back. Like
that's it. And he and Salvador Perez
Yep.
the Royals. You look at the depth of their lineup. It's not great at the back end of their lineup, but their stars are playing like stars.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt Jr. is probably going to finish second in the MVP in the American League. Salvador Perez has been fantastic.
He's incredible this series.
You know,
Incredible.
and their bottom of the lineup is better than the Guardians, but it's not that much better. No. But their stars are playing like stars. And right now, and let's face it, Jose hasn't been very good in the second half of seasons the last couple of years.
No.
But he needs help. He took a major discount, and the organization, the owner, and the front office has spit in his face. They have spit in Jose Ramirez's face because they have not added talent around him, and it's a joke. And this is going to be the 10th straight season, 10, without a home run, without an outfielder hitting 20 home runs. That is, I can't imagine there's another team in baseball that's ever done that in the last 60 years. If somebody else has, I'll be stunned.
One more thing on yesterday's game, then I know we got one quick topic before we bring on Bernie.
Yeah.
When do we need Gavin Williams to be Gavin Williams again?
Right now?
Like yesterday is the answer,
now.
right?
Right
because
now. What are you going to do? You're not going to send him down.
He doesn't.
He's been a huge bust
He's
this
been
year.
back for 2 months now. He's been pitching for 2 months. We can't use that he's still working back. It's April.
He wasn't
terrible last year, but he's not.
No.
He's not the Gavin Williams that you've needed. The Guardians.
No. I mean, he's got a 4.99 ERA. That's horrible. 1.41 WHIP is horrible. I mean, it's not good. I thought he was okay yesterday. He wasn't the reason they lost that game. They couldn't hit.
No, they got one hit after the third inning. Or no hits after the third inning.
It comes back to it, man. Like these other orders, these other guys in the middle of the order, you hold your breath when they get up. Like I'm like when you watch the Royals, you watch the Yankees, you watch the Orioles. Like you be like, man, they back up at the top of the order again. And it just feels like there's no room for error with the pitching staff. And when the bullpen starts giving up runs like they did yesterday, you really know it's a wrap.
Yeah, there's been some cracks in the bullpen of late, and if that goes south, and by the way, nobody besides Clase has much of a track record back there before this year. If that goes south, then they will be finished. But they're still going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to win the division. They got to get their shit together in a hurry. It's been a big disappointment.
And you got a quick read, and then we'll.
Yeah, we're just going to take a quick pause here in our Guardians talk because I got to remind you guys that you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. But right now, they're doing a little something different. September 22nd, now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. You just have to visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, let's get to the next topic. We got Bernie here. He's going to join us in just a minute. Before we get to that, one other thing on the Guardians. Can you look back and say the trade deadline was when things went south? We've kind of talked about it already here. I think they were already problems because we were really anxious for them to make trades. I don't think the trade deadline was the turning point. It's not a situation like last year where they traded away Savali, which I didn't have a problem with at the time. I know everybody was worked up about it. I don't think the team is like, oh, they didn't do enough. No. So now I don't think that has anything to do with it.
It's been trending.
It was trending down since the middle of July.
Yeah.
Well, you go back and Zach Meisel tweeted this out, but today's the first time since April 13th the Guardians haven't led the AL Central. They had a 10-game lead on the
Yeah.
Royals in the division on June 26th.
Yep.
I'm not saying that. I don't even know what happened on June 26th. I'm not saying that's the day in particular where
Right. Yeah.
it's all started to unravel. But since June 26th, the Royals have made up 10 games in the standings on the Guardians.
Yeah,
which
they played right. The Guardians didn't play well right before the All-Star break, and they've not been able to bounce back since. They had that 1 5-game winning streak where they swept the Cubs, and then they won those last 2 against the Twins, and then they swept the Cubs, and it looked like they were riding the ship. But since then, they've played like crap again.
Let me ask you a question, Bull. They've gone up and down this whole second half of the season.
Yeah.
Lose a couple, win a couple, lose a couple.
But it's been more bad than good.
But even recently, they lost a few. Then they beat Texas twice, and now they've lost 3. Mm-hmm. Is there any reason to believe, or I guess let me ask this a different way. What are you holding on to hope for that they can right the ship here?
I'm holding on to hope that Quan, Ramirez, Naylor, and Fry all get hot again. And that's what happened for a lot of the first half of the season. That all 4 of those guys were hot, and it made things a little easier. What's happening right now is all these other guys in the bottom of the lineup are not particularly good. They're feeling the pressure because, nobody's hitting. So now some of those guys are probably trying to do even more than they're really capable of. Early in the season, when you were getting great hitting from the top of the lineup, there was less pressure on those guys. Every at-bat, you didn't have to live and die with every at-bat. Now everybody's feeling the pressure. You could tell watching the Guardians hit, they look uptight, most of their players. Outside of Jose, everybody looks very uptight. Stephen Kwan, very uptight at the plate right now. They all look awful. Josh Naylor,
looks like he's hurt.
I don't know what's going on with him. He looks like he's in terrible shape. I know he's always been a big guy, but he looks bigger than usual. I don't know what's
his jerseys is getting much bigger.
Yeah. And listen, this is coming from a fat guy, Josh. I don't mean to make. I'm not making fun of him.
We're not shaming.
He's become a great player. I'm not trying to make fat jokes or be an ass. I just wonder if the injury or whatever it is has led to him getting I mean, he's a big guy. It's hard to stay in shape when you're a big guy like that. And I could be totally wrong. Maybe he's in just as good a shape as he's always been. I don't know. I'm looking for something to figure out what's happening. And I'm rooting for him to turn around because they need him. He's their second most important player on offense.
For them to be contenders, I think they need 3. They have to at all times have 3 of those 4 guys playing well.
Yeah.
If they get down to 2, and right now it's like pretty much
0.
done.
Yeah.
If you get down to 2, they went from 3 World Series contender to 2 is like first round. You could get beat in the first round, especially in the playoffs, because pitchers going to lock in. They got the whole book. They're going to be bringing in guys. You're only going to see a pitcher maybe 2 innings. You're not going to get 2 at-bats against these guys. They're going to be bringing in bullpens, and then the pressure's going to be mounting. It's imperative to get guys, when guys are running in score position, you have to score. You got to get hits. And I think they are tight, but they got to have at least 3 out of the 4 playing well.
All right, let's bring Bernie in here. Let's get to
Mike. You want to promo some Ultimate Cavs
go
while I
ahead,
get Bernie
Mike.
set up?
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, so the Ultimate Cavs Show, every week I did one on Monday night this week. It's on our YouTube page. Jason will join me again next week. I got some guests lined up in the coming days to join me on the Ultimate Cavaliers Show over the next few weeks as the season gets closer and closer. We're officially 1 month out, from the start of Cavs training camp. They're heading down to IMG in Florida, the first NBA team to ever head down to IMG for training camp, which should be fascinating. Taking a playbook out of the Browns playbook, G. Bush. They're going to Florida just like the Browns went to the Greenbrier. So talked about that and some other things on this week's episode. We'll have plenty more coming up on next week's episode. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome our QB1. It is Bernie Kosar to the show. Bernie, how you doing today?
Hey, guys. Good to be with you. Happy Labor Day week.
Yes,
It is Labor Day week.
Yes,
right.
It is. Wow, we getting you probably working. You don't get Monday off.
This is a big work week with the season starting. Yeah. I'm fixated on the Guardians game starting in about 40 minutes from now.
Are you big locked into the Guardians?
I was down the other night. Yeah, I'm a big Guardians fan. Yeah.
Who were you ever close with any of the Indians players at time or no?
I don't want to just drop names because we'd take up our 30 minutes right here as a guy who's been decades Indians, now Guardians fan, and used to be in the cavernous municipal stadium. Okay, when at this time of the year when there wasn't as many people there as we're having now. Right. But I've been blessed to get to meet so many generational players over each decade. And
have you ever hung out with Albert Bell?
Yes.
What is he like to hang out with him? Is he fun?
I think Albert Bell's phenomenal, and I love I loved him as a player. Yeah. I love that era in particular, and how he conducts himself. And I think now the way he's out in Arizona, and I think incorporating himself back into the game.
Did you play baseball as a kid?
I played a lot of baseball as a kid. Yes.
Pitcher
and third base. That's actually where a lot of my sidearm started from, because throwing, you could curve the ball, you could make it spin and that stuff. Yeah. And having pretty strong arm, that was the kind of way to make it move. And that's partly what punishing me now as an old man with the elbow.
Well, now I coach 9 and 10-year-old team and an 11 and 12-year-old team. I don't let them throw curveballs because I don't, but in those days, you didn't know that was bad for the arm.
Well, I got to say, Bull, that's great parenting, awesome coaching for the parents out there. The pressure to win, to go. Man, I enjoyed watching the Williamsport Little League World Series and stuff.
Did you watch the final game?
I watched the final game. That was great. Yeah, to see the kids play, and I had a dream of playing in that. I played in some of the Pony and Senior League World Series nationally and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. But being able to relate to kind of that was exciting. Yeah.
By the way, for those who didn't see it, Bernie referenced it, so I'll bring it up real quick. The championship game was between Chinese Taipei, which is Taiwan,
and the Florida team.
No Florida team had ever won the Little League World Series, which is shocking because you think of Florida as one of the big baseball states. Yeah. But it was a great game. It went extra innings. They play 6 in the Little League. Florida tied it in the bottom of the 6th, I think, with 2 outs, if I remember correctly. And then they won it in the bottom of the 8th. I believe it was a bunt, and they threw it away.
Squeeze, yeah.
And that was high level baseball for those kids.
I think I have to get a life to know that nobody covered first base for Chinese Taipei to allow the Florida team to win their first Little League World Series.
That's right. Yes. Good for them. Good for them. Go USA.
Bernie, it's funny that you come on today and we talked about the Browns having 4 quarterbacks, right? Have you ever been around any teams that carried 4? And we were just extrapolating out. If they did keep 4 quarterbacks, why do you think that would be?
So I think that's a great thing to talk about today. But today we are basically about 10, 11 days from the real game. Yeah. And this roster will change a lot between now. The back end of this roster will change some between now and the Cowboys game. And I really think that, and I love what Andrew Berry does. They're quiet little moves, but how we maybe get this 6th round pick and the 7th round pick, and how a 7th round pick becomes 6th round picks. And you're really playing that latter part of the draft move right now. And I'm still answering the 4 quarterback question. So when you're trying to cut down to 53 and you're trying to maybe make some trades as opposed to release people, most everybody knows that. So they almost call your bluff. So if you don't keep 4 on the roster, you probably can't trade one of those 4 because everybody has these issues at the last moment. So it's almost like you probably fielded phone calls for all 3 of the guys behind Deshaun, okay? And guys were probably, you're asking for X amount, and they're saying, well, you're going to have to cut one of them. I'm just going to take the one you cut. Yeah. And they're like, no, I'm not going to cut them. And nobody really believes, to your point, that you're going to keep 4. Mm-hmm. So now you did. Now you have a little bit of a say now. Yeah. And you could see the Browns are probably also preparing. Like you saw Mike Ford just got signed a couple minutes ago to the practice squad from Houston. Bubba Ventrone likes him as special teams and backup defensive back and stuff. So it kind of leaves you some flexibility with kind of an extra roster space. You're not gonna, by September 8th, our team's too deep. and too valuable to have 4 of us. And I'm not a quarterback guy. I love us, keep us all hired, okay? But we're too deep, and I think it's a strategic move here to create some assets and some flexibility.
Makes sense.
In the same vein, Bernie, there was a report out yesterday that the Browns were at least going to listen if a team called for a potential trade offer for Jameis Winston. We talked, I think.
I said I would not trade Jameis.
Yeah, I'm on the buy when I trade Winston. Yeah. You were here last week and you talked about the importance of Jameis helping Deshaun. I'm guessing you were very against any potential trade of Winston if they're going to cut down from 4 to 3. it's not going to be Jameis, right?
Yeah, so the pre-dementia stuff that I'm having, I absolutely remember all the stuff in the soapbox I went on last week here and my lust for Jameis Winston, especially in that quarterback room and that. So the standard phrase is you do have to listen to everybody, I guess, when they call, but I'd be hard-pressed, okay, to have to want to make a move for Jameis Winston. And I think you could accuse me of going back to drinking and pill taking if I executed that trade for a late-round pick.
Yeah,
because right now the reality, again, I am always as positive and believe in the visualization of positive things, especially for young players. Visualize yourself making great plays and stuff. Visualize yourself having success in that. Just like I don't like to visualize negativity and visualize injuries. But if you have to be an objective organizational person like Andrew Berry and Coach Stefanski, you have to statistically plan that our line is struggling, okay? And Deshaun is coming back from an injury, and you have to have some depth at that quarterback position, just like we found out last year in 2023. So Jameis Winston, I think, not just bridges that quarterback room, but he absolutely gives you that security to execute an offense at a really high professional level. And I went on a soapbox again last week about you saw Jameis, although limited playing, when he has played with the play-action game, and I'll go back to Michael Woods in that first game, hitting a 21-yard square, and with just the old-school post, replace it with a square and behind it, off of play-action. God, that isn't sexy. I remember running it 35 years ago, okay, and it still works versus cover 4. So having a guy who believes like that and things like that, I think it's too valuable at this time of the year for a late-round pick.
Bernie, let's talk about the left tackle situation, right? Jedrick Wills, I think we're all kind of surprised that he's not ready to go. They did activate him off the PUP list, but he's not practicing. Jack Conklin is practicing, coming off that devastating injury last year, and it does seem like if he's ready to go week 1 and Jed is not, that they will use Jack Conklin at left tackle. He hasn't played left tackle, I want to say, since his rookie or second year, maybe even since college. He hasn't done it much. How hard do you think it will be for him to be the left tackle week 1 if they need him?
So I think it's, again, in the spirit of positivity and in wanting to be positive, I think it is going to be fine because he is such a professional. I do believe he's an anomaly, okay, and you don't want to make your career and your living on that being that situation have to be successful every time.
Sure.
So him going from right tackle to left tackle just on itself without an injury is a challenge.
Yes.
And Joe Thomas made it look so seamless and so easy for for north of a decade, but it's not that easy. And the drop step with your right foot is different than the drop step with your left foot to take a Micah Parsons coming off the edge with that ferocity that he'll be doing. And then you couple it with he's coming off an injury, and then third, you couple it with that he hasn't had any preseason. So those aren't optimal issues. So we talked about it last week on the show, and I'm fixated again as a guy now 60 years old who hasn't had to put a game plan together in 3 or 4 decades, okay? And in my head, I can't help myself, and I'm putting a game plan together. And to that question, I absolutely now I'm looking at what we do to that quarterback question, that 53-man roster question, to with only 2 tight ends and 2 running backs. I really want multiple tight ends on the field and or backs to not give both tackles / both defensive ends free rushing one-on-one so that they know that they're going to get double teamed and they're going to get chipped and hit and wham blocked from the beginning of the game. And you could use bigger backs and your tight ends to do that.
Bernie, I was over here looking up something, and you just was sitting here, and I said, man, hold on, man. I be getting these ideas.
I thought it was boring.
Nah, you're right. He was like, so you look at me. You're in here today, and I went back and I looked at your specific career, and I'm getting to something with Deshaun Watson. 1988, right? You went through a bunch of injuries. Had the elbow injury. You ran the lineup. came. I think Mike Pagel played in a few games.
Yeah, we probably did 4 quarterbacks,
four or five quarterbacks
4 or 5 that year.
You played, I believe, 9 games that year, and you just were riddled with injuries the whole year. You came back the next year, and you bounced back. Browns went to the AFC Championship game, 3,500 yards. When you are riddled with injuries and you do have that thing hit you where you've been pretty good your whole career, and you have that one year where it's just like sometimes you may have forgotten that, hey, I could actually play this game, right? Is there a time when you have that year, you come to the next year, and you have something that sparks, maybe a game where you see some success happen, and then it puts you back in that mindset like, hey, I ain't forget how to throw the football. I ain't forget how to do it. And you come back and have a great year. Do you think that could be a case for Deshaun coming off a season where, he's been riddled with stuff. He's sat out a lot of games. He hasn't played as much as he probably would like to. Is there a possibility that he can get one of those games against the Cowboys early on, see some success, and then catapult him more in a mental mindset of saying, hey, I got some stuff that I can work with.
Yeah,
that I can bounce back.
That's really a great point. So there's a lot wrapped around that. So partly why I drink protein powder and raw coffee powder is to heal and detox myself from those 88 season and all those injuries. And again, in the spirit of positivity and thinking and visualizing positivity, a successful positive game early and early like the Cowboys game absolutely does wonders for us. We talked again last week. I feel like I talk all the time about this with the you matter. Self-confidence and self-esteem. We're all pretending. Look at us 4 up here. We want everyone to think I'm cool, we're cool, we have everything under control. But there are thoughts and doubts that go through our head. There's thoughts and doubts that go through us quarterbacks' heads still. Even though we'll say the right things, and having success early would absolutely help that. And to maybe help that happen, I would be thinking, like I was thinking in 88, coming and getting ready for 89, of the positive things that happened to me and that I did in this beforehand. And I would be Deshaun, thinking hard about that Baltimore Ravens game. His shoulder's cracked, he's hurt, we're on the road playing the Ravens, we're down 14 points, it's the 4th quarter. He has every reason to quit. He has every reason to show he's not a tough guy. You could play that drill out. You could actually probably get out of the game. Yet he goes 14 for 14, comes back, brings the team back, and we beat the Baltimore Ravens on the road. That was his last game of last season. In my head, I'd be really looking at that, thinking about that, visualizing that, and believing that's the me that we're going to see this season individually with that. So that kind of is the mindset I would absolutely be heavily focused on. But as you were saying that, there also is a thing that starts that we always want to be cognizant of, and age always gets us. And once things start injury-wise, and I started in 88 with those injuries and stuff, and thank you so much. And I want everybody to think how awesome the 89 season was in that, from me playing and bouncing back. But once the injuries started here, and then by the end of that season, I had cracked my shoulder the same way Deshaun did for the Houston Oilers game in week 16 or 17. So there's also a thing of once injuries start, serious ones, they also keep happening to us. So even more so with the line situation, why I'm so cognizant of chipping, blocking with tight ends, no free runs, and then whamming these guys early to solidify the upfront stuff so he doesn't take the unnecessary hits, and then has a chance to build that confidence and belief in himself. Yeah.
Along that same vein, Bernie, I'm not sure how to ask this in a more complex way, but when you're going up against a pass rusher like Micah Parsons, how much does that factor into your own preparation from a quarterback standpoint? Do you start thinking about, well, shit, I got to see Micah in 10 days, 9 days, or does that all completely just stay on the back burner? It's all about what you have to do, what the Browns have to do.
So
just ancillary.
Great question, and I love we don't have the don't swear up there anymore.
That's right.
You're the first
we
one
say
to go.
We can say it.
On me. So, I can assimilate and show my age right here, and was just making some plans to go see the Joe Namath golf tournament coming up with the great Lawrence Taylor was going to be in attendance. And Micah Parsons is like maybe Lawrence Taylor in the old days where you had to always be cognizant of him. Reggie White's, Gastineau in the day. So maybe this part of the week, 10 days before the game, absolutely part of my plan. Just like I'm not even playing, and I know how I'm going to block them already, as Bully asked the question on Conklin at the left tackle and stuff. And there is always a plan for that. And again, I'm not saying the Cowboy stuff, watch how I do things and what I say and stuff, but I do have relationships down there, and they kind of follow some of us on the show and that. But it isn't rocket science, because they know that Micah Parsons is a special player, and that will always be sliding my offensive line to him, not sliding my offensive line away from him, so that he creates a one-on-one matchup. So if you slide your line to him, you have Joel Petonio and Conklin having a chance to bang on him, with the tight end also possibly being there. And then when I really have something up my backside and I'm really grumpy, I have the fullback come and wipe him out, and I do that early multiple times just to let them know it's that kind of day for you.
Right.
Sorry, kids.
Yeah,
out there.
no, I like that. I like that. That's the energy I like. Bernie, none of us are
I'm a healer now. Okay? That's why people say, "Why don't you coach? Why don't you talk?" I don't want to tell kids that, but that is how you got to go think about playing.
You got to do. It's football. But you know what you're in for when you play football, right? Yeah. So I think none of us were surprised that Nick Chubb starts the year on the PUP list. Maybe we were hoping against hope that he'd be ready because he's such a freak athlete, but it's still only 10 months since his last surgery. So we understand. How confident are you? I don't know, if you've had any interactions recently with Nick, but
yeah, I saw Nick a couple weeks ago. And
is he going to be ready in 5 weeks?
I love Nick. Yeah. I really do. He is, and again, I'm not going to make this about myself, but talking about the injuries in '88. Thinking about coming back early, priding myself on playing hurt. I did the thing today talking about, playing with a broken ankle, talking about playing with a cracked shoulder, and now it's the arms don't work and stuff. So I used to say to myself, I'm proud I did it. I don't regret doing it, but I do wish there were a few adults in the room that helped me from myself.
Yeah.
And I believe that the Browns and the organization are doing a masterful job of helping us younger players from ourselves. And I believe Nick Chubb, left onto himself, is one of the reasons why we love him, is he would want to go out and play at, I'm making this up because I don't know, 80, 85, 90%.
Yeah. When
our schedule's kind of set up, we don't play division games till week 7+.
Yep.
Okay. I know this opener, I put an inordinate amount of importance on the opener, September 8th against Dallas. But it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And we need Nick Chubb after Thanksgiving. So even though I know he wanted to play, I love what the organization did of protecting him from himself.
Do you think he will be back in week 5, or could it be even a little longer than that?
That's how things heal on that. Yeah. But I think that gives him a better chance now to be back in and around that.
All right, sounds good.
Bernie, you played for the Cowboys, won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. You're obviously a legend here in Cleveland. When those two meet on the field, how does your heart feel in that situation?
Thanks for bringing that up. I'm never thought a ton of things like that, and haven't had that situation really transpire, and I haven't had that situation transpire here in Cleveland Stadium and stuff. So to know quite a few guys from the Cowboys and the organization, and to have those emotions and stuff, and then I'll be seeing some of the guys in the front office and that the night before the game, and then being here part of the Browns and stuff, it's pretty emotional. I'm actually pretty cool with it, and actually loving how it's kind of playing out for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, it should be an exciting game. And both teams have issue. The Cowboys have some issue with their offensive line as well. Mm-hmm. They had a great offensive line a few years ago, and they've kind of lost guys. There's been some injuries there, so it'll be interesting. More with Bernie in a second, but first, Anthony, let's get to a read-in and do the Super Chats, and then we'll get back with Bernie.
Well, we don't have any Super Chats, guys,
but
if you are looking to buy tickets this season for the Browns, there's no better place to go than Game Time. And Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events, like the Browns, even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to only show you the best deals and great seats. You don't have to waste any time searching through thousands of tickets. They have your ticket covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, and if you toggle the all-on pricing feature, it has to be toggled on. You get no surprise fees at checkout. It's the best app to go buy your tickets at. Download Game Time right now, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Guys, what time is it?
It's game time.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Bernie, I'm curious.
Real quick, sorry.
Breaking news?
Minor, but the Browns were not awarded any players via waivers, and none of their players were claimed.
Do they know if the Browns put in any claims? Did it say that?
Mary Kay just tweeted, not awarded any players.
So for anybody that was aggravated about any of the Browns players being cut, none of them were in high demand because none of them got claimed.
All back on the practice squad.
So not all of them,
but the ones they want to bring back, they have the opportunity to bring back.
I was just curious.
That would play into why you'd want to keep the 4 Qs.
Right.
If there was a trade possibility.
Right.
Because if they didn't think they were going to get guys claimed like this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bernie, I was curious, again, a little out of left field, but I think about the old school AstroTurf that they had in some of these stadiums. How awful was it playing on that?
Well, the AstroTurf was just a thing to make sure it was green. I mean, literally, the AstroTurf in the '80s was less dense than my fingernail. Okay,
really,
and it was a parking lot underneath it. So. My dogs just peed on it today because my first college start was at the Houston Astrodome, University of Miami, against University of Houston. First pro start was the Browns against Jerry Glanville and the Houston Oilers down there. So when they demolished the old Astrodome, they did a sale of the AstroTurf, and literally to go get it, it really looks like a piece of paper that you fold over and stuff on the concrete and stuff. Crazy. And in the old days, I think we said this a week or two ago, of yield management of the old school stadiums back then. Yeah. They would have concerts the night before a game. Right. I mean, I remember at the Brown Stadium, not turf and stuff, but Brown Stadium after a Pink Floyd getting slammed to the ground, and you'd have joints in the landfill and stuff.
I know, to be fair, the NFL Players Association has never been great in a lot of negotiations. However, how did they allow you to play on those fields? It was
part of the elbow issue and staph infection was, and I'll say this in the spirit of humor, but it's absolutely true. I mean, the Browns, we were having rock concerts the night before the game. Texas is a different state. Yeah. Okay, back then they had bullfights. Okay.
Oh God.
But there's literally bullshit on this AstroTurf. So now the next day, it's you're getting tackled in that. Okay, and you're getting scrapes, and then. When you get cut up, and you're like when I cracked my shoulder and I reopened my elbow and stuff, you didn't go clean it until after the game, so already the infection set in.
That's
Bernie,
you swore first.
No. You can say bullshit. You're good, but that's just
that
disgusting.
literally that was it.
That is gross.
On some real stuff I played Camp McKinley, so we played at the Hall of Fame Stadium.
Was that always turf?
Hey, I did the game. I did the game last week against Warren Harding.
Yeah, we got the win.
Coach Antonio Hall, shout out.
Yeah, we got that dub.
He's great with young men.
Oh yeah,
he's amazing.
Listen, he's awesome.
He's been on the show.
He's been on the show too. Yeah. One of my good friends grew up with him. Got a bunch of stories with Antonio. That was Foster Stadium was grass. 1995, 1996. They decided that they're going to revamp it, and we went to turf, and we had turf in '97. So basically,
you had an extended parking lot.
Yes,
back then,
and it was it wasn't a field turf.
No, it was concrete.
And then we played at the Akron Rubber Bowl for big games, and they had the big crown in the middle of the field, and it's glorified concrete, and the turf burns that used to get. Those turned into you couldn't wash a turf burn. You had to put like plastic wrap on it.
Right. The whole season.
The whole season. And you'd have raw patches. It almost looked like skin graft.
That's insane that we allowed people to play on that.
And we were in high school.
That's crazy.
That is child abuse.
Yeah.
We actually thought getting decapitated and getting run over and slammed to the ground was easier than those scrapes and that stuff. Yeah.
You get in the shower with a turf, bro. They spray it burns. But turf back then, you think about it. I don't know how I did it. Like, we played on AstroTurf and we played basketball games on concrete in the playground.
I can't play outside anymore. My knees do not allow me to play outside anymore.
Yeah, Bernie, I ain't got no more plays in my knees. They're done.
I know you can't. If you play on that with regularity, you see why the consequences as we age out with stuff like that.
Did the NFL fields have big crowns?
Oh, some had them. Yeah. The good ones had them.
Tampa Bay, I remember, had a nice.
But like the ones like Philadelphia Veterans Stadium, because they were taking chunks out. I mean, you'd have concrete, and then you'd have 2 inches like this, where people would literally trip and break their ankles on that stuff.
Bernie, back to the current team. We're almost out of time, obviously, but we don't know about Denzel Ward yet. He had his 5th known concussion last week. Obviously we're all concerned about his future in the league. What are your thoughts right now on Denzel?
I'm a huge Denzel Ward fan, and just spent the weekend at Make Them Know Your Name and pop up in the park, and what Denzel, PJ, his amazing mom, Nicole Ward, do with that foundation and what they do in the community. It's just phenomenal. That turnout was incredible. To what they were able to kind of give back, and I'm actually learning now CPR and all that from that perspective, and somebody who's dealing with the ramifications of ignoring the concussions when I was his age, and dismissing them. I spend an inordinate amount of time, probably too much, trying to maybe talk and help with them and young kids like that. Because I could not be talked out of playing then. That wasn't an option. But that is something that when these keep happening like this, the consequences down the road, no matter how much money you're making, have in line to make, these are tough ones to deal with. And for him, I just wish him the best in trying to get himself better.
Yeah.
Are those avoidable? It's like to a point where you look at football and it's almost like a thing where it's the sport.
Here's the tough thing, and I don't want to overly keep saying this, but if you're a parent out there and you're a kid out there, it's sometimes hard to get the first 1 or maybe 2, and you don't maybe know the first 1 or 2. Unfortunately, as you keep getting them, the hit that wiped you out to get the first one, it's almost nothing by the time.
Right.
Look, I'm at like over 100 now.
Concussions?
When people come after me and I get pushed around, even to this day, any contact to my head could cause that now, and it even could be a simple something that's nothing. But here in the head, that's the one. That's nothing, and people touch you all the time like that. So, unfortunately, it's avoidable. But man, in the heat of battle, it's violent out there. It's kill or be killed. It's tough to go. And now he's going to tackle big dogs coming around the corner on a sweep, and that's partly why we love him. He doesn't turn that stuff down. You can go back to the Greg Williams was messing with him for kind of using his head, but. That's your age. Come on, my age. You were yelled at if you did not.
If you did, you got to put your face mask on. It was a different way you even played.
And I'm not saying that's the way to do it. I'm not saying that. But I also know that sometimes is the way to get your guy down. And Denzel wants to get his guy down, and his competitiveness is just exceptional.
By the way, folks, if you see Bernie on the street and he's couldn't be more friendly. When fans love him, everybody wants to meet Bernie. Don't hit him in the back. Don't hit him in the head.
Don't touch him. Don't touch Bernie.
Maybe a handshake. That's it. That's it.
Away.
Fist bump.
Yeah. Star Trek.
Don't touch. Because I'm sure people all the time. Hey, Bernie, how you doing?
Yeah,
I shouldn't even do that to G. He's had so many injuries. Bernie, great to see you as always. Be well. We'll see you next week. Next week
is game week.
Game week, baby.
Let's go. See you on Overtime. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. See ya.